Greetings there, everyone. This is Jed Shlackman, and for this video I'll be covering the subject of empaths, people who may look at themselves as highly empathic or highly sensitive or intuitive, and how those who are strong in those types of traits often exhibit some type of greater vulnerability to traits or habits or patterns associated with borderline personality. Borderline personality is a personality disorder that's identified in the field of clinical psychology or psychiatry. So it's seen as a dysfunctional pattern of interpersonal relationships. And in that particular pattern, the person tends to fluctuate from one extreme to another in terms of their attachments with other people. So they may be very caring and sensitive, very nurturing types of people who are very eager to form some type of a bond with another person, but those attachments tend to be very insecure. They tend to be very sensitive to any stresses or challenges that may come up in a relationship, to any confrontations that occur, any criticisms that they may perceive or provided in that relationship. So they may tend to either cling too much, or they may too easily detach or isolate or run away from that social connection and interaction. So at varying times you may see one of these individuals in either of those phases of that pattern. Now, to consider how that type of pattern would develop, we can look at early experiences in life with attachment figures and find that that person may have experienced some type of abusive or neglectful relationship with their caregivers, or perhaps some type of very inconsistent attachment with those caregivers, where perhaps the caregivers themselves had those borderline types of personality traits, where sometimes they might be very affectionate and in some way caring or loving toward the child, but then when they switch to their other side, in a sense, they might have become very detached and neglectful of the child's emotions. They may have even in some way been very abusive toward the child at that period of time, projecting their angers and frustrations that they may be feeling in other aspects of their life toward that child, perhaps being emotionally or physically abusive or harsh toward the child. So the child, to adapt to that, might develop a very heightened sensitivity or empathic quality, where they are very tuned in to the emotions of other people and trying to appease or please others, trying to nurture or care for others, and becoming, in a sense, over-focused perhaps on doing so, not realizing that sometimes no matter how much we try to please or soothe or appease other people, we're not going to be able to get them to treat us in a desirable way. So that pattern would often begin in childhood and then be carried forward into adult relationships. So the person will continue to have that empathic nature. They may actually be quite intuitive or psychic in some ways, where they could feel or sense the feelings and thoughts of other people, which is a useful mechanism in a sense to try to protect yourself, because if you're conscious of how other people are feeling or what they have on their mind or what their intentions are, then you can choose accordingly how you would interact with them. So that's a very useful trait or skill people have, to be an empath. And it can be very useful when you're working in the healing arts, since you can rather quickly and efficiently perhaps tune into what other people are experiencing and be able to sense ways that you could support them, healing resources that you could provide for that person. So people who are high in those types of empathic traits will often be naturally inclined toward the healing arts, toward things like counseling and nursing and social work, and toward metaphysical professions, things like being mediums or channelers or astrologers, things where you're supporting other people in some manner by applying your intuitive abilities. Of course, the challenging part is that often those people who have developed those empathic skills may not have addressed their deep psychological wounds and traumas. They may have an unstable sense of self, and that could in some way impact or impair their ability to function effectively in whatever roles they're playing in society, whether it's their professional roles or their interpersonal or family roles. So it's important to be self-aware and to recognize where we have those unhealed aspects of ourself, those insecure attachment patterns, any difficulty with our own self-worth or our own stability, and to work on addressing those issues. So you might need to work more on your lower chakras, strengthening the feeling of being safe and rooted and grounded, strengthening your sense of self and your interpersonal reactions so you don't feel easily overwhelmed, so you're not afraid of someone else overpowering or controlling you, where you feel confident in expressing or asserting yourself and not overreacting to other people. It's not unusual for empaths to, for a while, be suppressing their self-expression and just kind of trying to people please to keep the peace with others. And after doing that for a while, a tension builds up inside of the person, and they start to resent either themselves for not expressing themselves, or they are resenting the other person for how that other person is in some way mistreating or manipulating them. And so at some point there might be an angry outburst where the person who for so long has seemed so quiet and sweet and sensitive now suddenly becomes angry and irate and overly focused on their own safety or protection and overreacting to the other person. So that's where those borderline types of patterns or behaviors can be present, where a person can switch from being very sweet and sensitive, very loving in a sense, to being very hostile and perhaps even aggressive in some way. Sometimes other people observing that side of them might think they're being antisocial or narcissistic in some way, but that's actually just a part of the behaviors that are being generated by the borderline pattern of flipping between one extreme and the other. So for those that are seeking to find more balance and wholeness within yourself, or seeking to support others in that type of healing process, I encourage you to look into this topic further. A useful reference to look at these issues of personality patterns and defense mechanisms are the materials of Barbara Brennan, and she's the author of 3 books. hands of light, light emerging, and core light healing. And in the materials she presents, she provides an energetic perspective integrated with the kind of spiritual psychology or psychodynamic perspective that helps us see how we develop our personality and how we seek to protect or protect ourselves or handle these social interactions and social challenges that we encounter in life. I appreciate each of you for taking your time to view this video. For those that are interested in these types of subjects, I invite you to explore my YouTube channel, and you could also visit my website, which is phinsights.com. That's phinsights.com. You'll find some more resources there, as well as information about the personal healing services that I offer. For now, I'd like to wish each of you a wonderful day. Namaste.